Maybe it would have been a tiny bit of a blunder there, not realizing he already... Oh, he cancelled it as our observer showing. Nice, nice. But it's Maru that's now going for the second armory, and TY is kind of skipping out the Raven stage of the game. Like, this is one thing that you tend to see from different Terrans. They have very different responses. Oh my gosh, TY's going for it though.
Yeah, interference pictures coming out on pretty much every single one of the siege tanks, and even though the anti-armor missile has covered all of the Marines, there's nothing to actually kill them. And in the meanwhile, the command center going down is going to be a massive blow there for Maru, who does, denies a fifth base that was building. That's great. You lost your fourth.
Yeah, that was a really big blow there. For Maru, because he has been behind economically.
Oh no.
Now these tanks can get really close to this main base, and the thing is, his air control, even though he's fighting back and fighting the good fight here, TY has the ability to just make more. 13 Vikings. Where are they all though?
Yeah, I think they're still making their way across the map now, but once they get there, it is going to be so hard for Maru to dethrone this position, which is, like you said, on top of production. He's already been able to take out one of the reactors in the barracks, which is now actually burning down. Wow. And as soon as these Liberators maybe start pushing back those siege tanks in the main, I actually don't know how the rest of the main base stays safe.
Me neither, me neither. Oh, the Unsiege to dodge the Liberators, but it's too little too late, and TY just has a really, really phenomenal army. He's got 4 CCs going up behind all this as well. This army's so incredibly hard to push back. His Vikings have to run past the Vikings of TY to get to his army. It is just a Larry spot. Nice focus fire of the Liberators, though. They're keeping those out of the game enables his tanks to stand pretty strong defensively.
Yeah, and now we actually see the big doom drop into the main base because TY says, well, you know, I have the tanks to cover me on the low ground. It's so difficult for you to move up. Finally, it looks like Maru is actually taking some of the Viking leads over here, but it feels like it's already too late. He's lost so much of his production, even having to lift up and re-land siege or his factories to reproduce the tech labs. The damage has already been done. Maru can't even probably reproduce the units anymore.
He's going for a big counterattack with his own Marines, though, and it's getting quite a lot of SV damage done, but the supply tells the tale of the story. He's going to try and land into those turrets. Oh, no, the game is too fast, and TY ekes out a solid victory in Game 1.
Absolutely stellar play there from TY. I mean, really just getting a firm control of that game with not only just making the move into that air superiority. I loved how he was able to do that with the extra starports and everything, but it's not just the fact that he went for extra starports and that's so great. It's the fact that he was able to leverage them so well, finding that position over at that 4th base, then moving into the main and abusing his air superiority so well there.
It was just a really fun game all around. I love the fact that Maru went for the opening he did, where he had 1 proxy barracks and made it all look a bit like it could be just the regular double gas opening. Then he got the kill on the SV, kill on the depot, but didn't really go further. I think TY was absolutely lucky he didn't, because he actually made 1 Reaper into straight reactor, meaning he had far fewer units than Maru. But then he kind of just turned on the aggression and really kept Maru in his base for such a long time, eked out the economic advantage, and ultimately just got his air flowing way faster than Maru. And that really, when it comes to TVT, was Maru's best map, I feel, because he's the one that really likes to be the defender and get to that late game, but TY just didn't allow it.
Really awesome job, and man, I can see Maru, he's at least in good spirits. He's got a good smile on his face. Maybe actually, I think I'm actually looking at the in-game chat. They're having a little chatter between the two because they are good friends and everything. So I am interested to see where Game 2 goes, Ben, because frankly, both of these players are really good, and I feel like Maru is absolutely capable of still trying to turn this series around.
Yeah, so if I recall the game between Maru and Beyond that just happened, Maru also started off 0-1, where he just kind of got outplayed, just got caught off guard. So I definitely think Maru is the kind of player, even though I know a lot of people can know him for a lot of things, be it his micro, his macro, just the way he kind of just uses his units so damn well and uses the whole plethora of the Terran arsenal. One thing that I really know him for is the fact that he reads his opponents and he can make them do things that he wants to do, very much like a puppet master. Anyhow, we're getting into Game 2 of the series, and spawning over in the bottom left, it is Maru.
And up here in the top right-hand side of the map, we have the red Terran player, Team of Freak of Freaks. It's TY.
Jagannatha. Now, this is an interesting map. I know like a lot of players have talked about it being long. A lot of other players have talked about it. It's not even that long. It's one of the shorter maps, actually. But yeah, it's definitely been a difficult map when it comes to Terran in general. Like, I know they like to veto it a lot against Zergs especially. Just, it's mainly because of the way that Zergs can expand, like, very far away from you. Like, if you take the whole horizontal line across the top of the map or the bottom, it's very nice and safe. Doom drop potential as well. There's that massive chasm, or chasm even, which you have to fly over, which, you know, it's hard to get into that main undetected. But I'm interested to see how both of them approach this game, because last time I saw these guys play, or the most famous time was the GSL finals, where there was lots of proxies going off. Here we see TY opting for a scoutless expansion, which is ballsy as hell, and Maru's the one going for the double gas and scouting, which, yeah, he's definitely very cautious. Oh, maybe he is scouting with him, SB.
All right, yeah. Wait, Maru, you could have actually gone up into the main if you wanted to, but he gets like baited not to and says no, I'm fine. But it's a high ground CC there from TY, yeah.
Oh yeah, that is also mentally like keeping Maru in the dark here, which is very interesting.
That is fascinating. And I guess maybe it's also in the hopes that like, oh, Maru will like double back to the natural and see like, oh, no, you don't have a command center over here. It's looking fine. It's looking normal. But yeah, even the Reaper for Maru is actually sticking around at home. He's looking around for proxy locations or the SCP.
Yeah, this is one of those cases where obviously expanding on the low ground is better for you economically, but denying your opponent of knowledge and the know-how of what you're going to do, it means that your opponent can't skip corners. And a lot of people don't realize, like, StarCraft 2 is a game of filling out the blanks when it comes to information and like your own formula. And this game, TY, he's going to be going for, well, it is an expansion into Reacted Hellion. Like, this is still something that it's not super duper normal these days. So I love the fact that TY is playing his opponent as much as he is playing StarCraft 2.
Absolutely. Now, with the Hellions starting to move across the map over here for Maru, kind of moving down to the south side of that main base. I guess also just getting really good map vision, kind of seeing what is around. If there is something like, say, a proxy starport again or something, you would actually be able to have good vision on that. But like you said, everything is just back down at home over here for TY. And Maru is, funny enough, I feel like going to be arriving at that natural right as that command center does want to get established. Maru
right now must be thinking like, okay, what am I up against? But he does get a good little catch of the first Hellions. Oh my gosh, he ran up the ramp a little bit. But avoids quite a chunk of damage, actually. Kills one Hellion for one of his own, and the Reapers, they do regenerate, so he kind of knows what's up. And he does have a Reaper on the other side of the map, but nice evade by Maru.
Yeah, very, very cute. Able to load up all those SCVs into the command center and eventually unload them. Get them back to mining. Oh, there's actually 6 SCVs over here, so you can't load all of them into the command center right now, but you will be able to repair and buy time until the rest of the units get out.
Yeah, a little bit of lost mining there for sure for Maru, but keeping all the SCVs alive, and I guess delaying the orbital from changing as well. TY can't be too displeased with how that Reaper did.
Yeah. Hellions managed to find one of the Reapers, or I should say, I guess the Reaper scouts out. The Hellions are so far on the map. Looks like we're also going to see a little Raven run by for some auto turret harassment coming out soon, which, man, Ben, I always feel really weird when I see these, because I've seen so many times, I want to say lesser Terran players try and do this. They use that auto turret harass energy, and then they just get pushed, don't have the interference matrix, and really have a hard time. So we'll see how much damage this gets done.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, like, so far it absolutely gets repelled by Maru having a Cyclone in the perfect location, and that's one thing that makes this map a little bit more tricky. It's very obvious where you would Doom drops. You can't fly over the natural into the main, or, I mean, you can, but that's terrible. So, that Cyclone was lovely placed. And we have... TY is actually going for something very aggressive here. So he's delaying his 3rd CC, and he's going into super Viking production and Siege Tank production. And even though the 3rd is on location, this shows that he's going to be aggressive to like defend that location. So yeah, the next few moments or the few minutes will be all about TY being aggressive, I think.
All right. So, well, if there's one thing we've already seen from game one, and I want to keep saying like the GSL finals that they played, TY really loved having that air superiority. As I think he was the player that went into like 7 Raven BC in one of those games and everything. So having that air superiority does allow you to be aggressive, like you were saying, and he's gonna be able to move out over here. Looks like Reaper gets a scout out on a couple of the Vikings, so does know that it was already like a move into that Viking production, not just medevacs.
This is so gnarly here. Like, for Maru, he's got that reacted starport at the front, but that's like his most valuable building, basically, when it comes to the air versus air battle. I'm interested to see how he positions defensively, as well as TY. Where does he choose to go for, really?
Yeah, I'm trying to look for the angles right now. The Raven's going to be able to come in, do a little bit of auto turn harassment, slow down a few of these buildings, but as the scans come out, it does look like Maru has those siege tanks already sieged up in position to defend his main base, and yeah, TY just backs off, actually.
I like these amount of SV kills that he just got, as well as having his third on location. That was great. Like, he's already eked out the lead that he wanted. We look at it, 52 SVs to 44. Maru, though, he is not just going to take a punch and take it lying down. He's absolutely going to see what he can get done with his own Ravens.
Moving on forward, Depot will provide a little bit of early scouting vision over here. I'm not sure if TY is going to have anything else that he's really looking at besides this, so he should be able to react pretty quickly. And, well, that's an odd place to... Okay, he's pulling in to repair the tech. I was like, he's going to pull the SCVs into the auto turrets, but, ooh, gets both of the Ravens.
And he didn't get stim either. Like, 9 SCVs is all well and good, but losing your 2 Ravens and not denying the stim like you wanted, again, just a nice little win for TY. And having 2 Ravens against none, yeah, I'm not surprised he's marching out. Maru has to buy time somehow, because this army of TY is so fierce.
Oh, they're going to be meeting in the middle of the map over here with the siege tanks already sieged up over here for Maru, and TY is looking for another angle. Scans coming down for both sides, and that Cyclone sacrifices his life to try and get a Raven, but he doesn't even get that done.
Yeah, this is bad. I mean, like, this tank positioning by Maru, I've got to say, it's super duper clean. Like, you're not getting up that ramp, even if you've got Ravens, but, whoa, TY going into the main with these Vikings and the Ravens, but trying to run away here does keep the Ravens alive. This is actually a hard army to clean up, unless, oh my goodness, Maru goes underneath.
Yeah, a couple auto turrets are at least clearing the way for a few of these Vikings to get back, but that's a majority of the Vikings going down over there. Really, really risky gamble from TY. Does not pay off. Now, Hellion's going to try and run in, and wow, they get a lot of good damage on those Marines, but man, the Vikings are just going to sacrifice their lives for a couple of SCV kills over here.
Is it just SCV kills, though? Is it? Like, this is a lot of TY on the right side of the map. Maru has to posture himself so well and defensively here. And, like, these Vikings, they're actually trading pretty darn well with these Marines as well.
Oh my god, yeah. I actually think if that Viking stayed landed, it would have been able to kill those 3 Marines if the SCVs hadn't pulled themselves. But, wow, TY now going to be sitting up almost 20-30 supply. Has his next command center already on the way, and Armory also getting started on up. And you can see resources lost, just definitely favoring TY a little bit.
Yeah, and he's still got his Ravens alive, right? Yeah, he does. Like, I mean, one got away by the skin of its teeth kind of thing, but he's ramping up as he should, and the main thing is he's been super unhindered as well. Like, this shimming around, even though Maru's done a good job of staying alive, given that it was a very precarious situation, TY's had free reign to do whatever he pleases, and he's got his sensor tower up earlier, he's getting turrets. He's just looking damn good. His armory's finishing as well, so 2-2 will start earlier than his opponent. Team.
Upgrades as well.
Credit to Maru though, like, even though he was behind in SCVs and, you know, the Viking grass and stuff, he's actually managed to eke out a little bit of an SCV against TY of all people. Like, TY is the SCV build. TY is getting ready to establish his 4th base though, which is done, so it's just going to be about flying it over, getting another sensor tower up. Like, he's just manipulating the map beautifully, and Maru, it's a very similar situation. He's going to be playing catch-up, and that means he has to do something a bit extreme, but the question is, what do you do?
Yeah, I was gonna ask actually, do you feel like this is a situation where Maru wants to try and finally get a little bit of map presence? Because he has been so pinned back this entire time. He's been basically the one on the defense for almost the entirety of the game.
Like against a lot of Terrans, I think Maru's style of just getting to the late game and knowing how good you are with Viking Raven and just the normal army composition is pretty smart to do. The thing is, he's going up against the one Terran that I feel that can do it just as good as you, but he's also throwing in Liberators into the mix and he's out economying you as well. So getting up to like the 3 starports very, very quickly, getting the upgrades going. I like the fact that Maru has like started up his second armory though and getting the upgrades going, because that will come in handy once the air battle does start.
Ooh, so Maru a little bit later with this, but he does get his 2 starports up, not too much further behind TY this game. So might be a slight period of time where TY's production is going to be a bit better with those Vikings and the Liberators, but well, hold that thought. We might see the big fight coming out first over here. The Vikings engaging and taking out the Liberators over there for TY, but TY's Marines are demolishing this 4th base, and Eileen literally killing the 4th base itself.
That is amazing by TY, and that is such a big victory for him. Like, the economic advantage is still in his favor. Maru did a good job of keeping all his SCVs alive, and they're also, like, you know, keeping upgrades going amidst all this chaos, but Maru hasn't lost anything besides the CC, actually, so even though it was good, TY lost his Ravens, and I think a Liberator or 2 there, too.
Yeah. All right, well, we see that this is going to be a very tough situation now for Maru. So what is his game plan? He's hunting around with his Vikings, trying to force the medevacs back. Is he looking for a moment to just go in, or just finding whatever free damage he can? The command center still just can't land. And every second that goes by, Maru is falling further behind.
He is, but he's the cockroach Terran, basically, when it comes in, like, to this matchup. And I don't want to say this is what he aims for every time, but it almost is. Like, he just wants to get to late game, have the air control game, and every moment that goes by, oh, lovely pick up by TY, and he will be trading with his tanks, the tanks on the high ground, but Maru's kind of breaking out here.
Yeah, oh, loses a lot of Marines at the very end, thanks to those tanks that re-siege, so TY still gets a good bit of damage done, but here comes Army number 2, knocks out the sensor tower, lifts up those Vikings to regain that air superiority as he gets his siege tanks in range of the planetary, and now this has literally become a siege on a very, very important base that I don't think Maru can afford to give up. Maru's going to try and fight this head on, and I think he does have the numbers for it.
Yeah, I think Maru's actually hanging on very well despite the pressure. Because, I mean, this isn't easy to do. Like, he has no sensor towers available anymore, and that isn't because he didn't make them, it's because TY actually killed them. But TY, like, we got to give him credit as well. He's the one putting on all the pressure, and he's not slowing down. His 3-3 started immediately, 5 Vikings at a time, and his supply hasn't really dropped too far under 200, and his minerals and gas, they just stay so ridiculously low, so he's macroing like a beast behind all this as well.
Yeah, a lot of that TY takes the time to siege up just to kill off that sensor tower yet again. Looks like another one is going to get started up a little bit further back this time here for Maru, but Maru's got that Liberator over here, joined with those Vikings, so he's able to thrown, I would say, the position for these siege tanks, not quite de-siege, so it just does get picked off, but 5th base now being established there for TY in the top left. I have to imagine some of Maru's bases are starting to run a little bit drier on resources. I feel like the 5th base is going to be such a complicated question of how he's going to establish that.
It is, but I'm looking at the upgrade tab constantly, and the things that Maru's getting, and he's creeping out this base on the far left, but oh, a drop in the main. This is where things are going to get dicey. Maru is establishing himself. Like, I can't believe he's getting that 5th, but behind this drop, actually. But this is dealing a lot of damage, and TY is attacking in multiple spots right now.
Yeah, Viking count lead, not going to matter if you got the anti-armor missile on all of your opponent's Vikings. Now, the medevac drop does have to pick up, and funny enough, I think it's going to go over the 5th base location. TY going to fight regardless of the anti-armor missiles, and it feels like he just has maybe comfort in that he still wins this Viking war.
I mean, he's very close in supply, but he's landing the Vikings, the tanks. They can't get their job done. The SCVs are pulled as well. Where is Maru's army? TY just taking him apart here at the 3rd base. TY with a 20 supply lead after all said and done, but Maru, he's still not down and out just yet, but TY, does he know about this other base? I think he's going to know for sure, and yes, he does.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure that that's quite the army you need to take out a planetary. Send that Marines with no Medivacs, but he gets a siege tank also to back that up. He might try and go in for that a little bit later on. Vikings getting picked off on the retreat, and now Planetary Fortress can't lift up, Ben. There's no escape for that fifth base if TY goes a-hunting for it.
And look at the top side of the map as well. TY totally claiming his half of the map. And again, not slowing down at all. Saturated perfectly on most of these bases. His income is insane. Maru, on the other hand, he's struggling, man. He's struggling to get up his fourth base, never mind a fifth.
Yeah, I mean, you don't always see it, but those little arrows on the above the minerals and the gas on that bottom overlay, all of them pointed at TY because he has a heavy income advantage right now. Raven number 1, Raven number 2 goes down for Maru. The Vikings now just going after Medivacs, and even though most of the Marines have been taken out for both sides, the fifth base is still going to get sieged over here by that one siege tank, and there's not really a whole lot to actually get in to defend it until he's able to take out that last tank.
Yeah, I mean, Maru does hold, and yet again, but he's definitely down in supply. He's down in resources. Like, upgrade-wise, he's actually hanging on pretty strong. He's got +2 armor on his air, which kind of counteracts the +1/+1 that TY has. But the thing is, TY, he's just done such a good job of leaning on Maru. This is definitely like the big kid on the playground that just gets a little bit of an edge and just leaning on Maru all the way. And he's not giving Maru any chance to breathe at all in this game.
Yeah, another drop heads into the main base, which actually triggers actually all of the Medivacs head on home. Even just buying a lot of space that way is really nice, because now the rest of the army is going to be sharking around for another angle that he can try and push into that fifth. And look, the Medivac just comes back in. You're going to find armories which are maybe not super useful now that you have most of your upgrades, but, well, it's still going to be just annoying pressure.
It certainly is, and Maru tries to get away with those tanks, gets away with one, but the PF will fall. It's going to be 15-ish SCVs as well along with it. And the thing is, Maru's not rich at all. He's 150 supply, but his mineral bank is totally gone. And this actually opens up Doom Drop potential into the main, and I think this is starting to become too much to handle for Maru.
Oh, that Doom Drop also is not just Marines like all the previous ones. I think there were a few siege tanks mixed in the mix. Anti-armor missile also coats those Marines, making it very difficult for Maru to force an engagement, something he desperately needs to try and force right now to try and take some kind of counter damage, but he's losing everything in his main right now. Ben, how do you bounce back from this one?
It's super damn hard. I mean, if anybody could do it, would be Maru of all people. And he's doing a good job. He's counter-sieging on the low ground, does pick off the tank, meaning he will be able to clean this up. But boy, oh boy, the damage has been done. I mean, look at TY. He's not slowing down. And no damage has been done on his side of the map either. Great anti-armor missile, great interference matrix, even dropping the turrets. But Maru is still fighting back somehow.
Maru staying alive with that anti-armor missile. The Ravens both going to end up sacrificing their lives. SCVs being pulled off the line to help fight back TY to keep Maru in this game. And he's going to chase almost all the way across the map back over to TY's own bases. And is Maru actually going to be able to make something happen over here? I mean, if you look at the army supplies, he is up in army supply. It's mostly workers that he's down right now.
Like, I would say no, but again, that went so damn good for him. What is the resources lost habit in this game? Because I feel like TY's been outmining him a lot. In fact, it's so close, even though TY's been so far ahead almost in every possible way. It just goes to show how good Maru is at defending, even when so behind.
It looks like the interference matrix coming out on a lot of those siege tanks, so TY losing a few more of those. Has one last siege tank that does get repaired back up and still getting some good shots off. The anti-armor missile makes it really tough for Maru to try and engage. And oh, these Marine fights, these are not Marines he can replace, whereas TY is replacing his units.
Maru, like, I don't know how he's doing this. Like, I genuinely don't. He's keeping this tank out alive. And if he gets in between the rally points between the bases, that is a scary number of Ravens, though, for TY. But he has to accumulate his forces. He has to build up the energy to disable those tanks.
Well, tanks getting siege up, almost in range of some of these starports. The Liberator actually getting some nice zoning out over here. The Marines are finally going to be able to stem in, start taking out the tech labs that those starports are on. Even the Natural Command Center is being forced to lift up. Maru, deep in the heart of TY's bases right now, is making his stand, and he's making a stand on the ramp as well.
I can't believe how Maru is able to do any of this.
No.
The Marine cap's getting so low, though. He has to deal with that Liberator. He does it. He does it. TY does kind of hold here at the top of his ramp, and Maru, he's still reinforcing, but TY, he's taking even the bases on Maru's side of the map amidst all this chaos. I don't know what the hell is going on in this game. Maru is making a game out of it, though. It's actually looking like it could potentially be leading in his favor soon. What is TY doing on the map with his army?
This is actually unreal. The supplies are even now, as Maru has somehow been able to find so much damage. He heads over to the left, escaping out of the natural and going toward the fresher bases of TY. The bases have been TY's biggest asset throughout all of this. If you start losing all of your mining, well, what's the advantage left there for TY? That's what he's been relying on.
Certainly has. Maru's going to catch these dropships as well at that base. We'll be able to deal with all the Marines, by the looks of it, without really suffering too many losses. Maru's actually got ahead in supply for the first time in this game, it seems, and he's going through the bases one by one. Oh my goodness. TY must be kicking himself and wondering, how the hell does this guy do this?
Wow, sieged up on both of the planetary fortresses back to back. One of the planetary fortresses is trying to get repaired up. That is just a lot of siege tank fire. It's going to end up falling over here. There are bases on the right-hand side of the map that TY has, and look at all of the Ravens he's actually just made. He's up to quite a few of them, so, I mean, hey, that's going to give him some energy to utilize for both interference matrix and anti-armor missiles.
Oh, he's on the run, he's on the chase. That's a lot of Marines, that's a lot of minus armor on that army. TY coming in from each and every angle. The Ravens, the interference matrixes, he's locked down all the tanks and he's cleaning up Maru's final army by the looks of it. The game back to square one and yet again.
Oh my god, the Liberator's even finding a lot of damage on these Medivacs. Even they are going to end up falling over here. Go figure. And now Maru, he does still have that base that's been mining over here, so he's been able to finally get up some resources, finally replenish some of the army, but now he is down 30 army supply. He's gonna have to evacuate. That was just an orbital command, so he can lift it off, but that is, I feel like, gonna reduce his mining down to almost next to nothing.
It certainly will, but like TY, look at the red. It's just kind of like scattered across the map right now. He does have orbitals mining on the far right side. It's this number of Ravens that he has, and I thought those SCVs were going to meet each other randomly on the map just then. But yeah, this is a phenomenal game by both of them, honestly. I don't know who I'm more impressed with.
It's been absolutely ridiculous, and wow, TY's going to be able to find another snipe on an orbital. I want to remind you guys, there are not a lot of orbitals left right now for Maru. He's going to try diving on in with these Marines. He throws down some of the auto turrets. The anti-armor missile coming out for both of these players. It looks like TY is going to get the better end of it, though, with all the good old turrets to back him up.
And TY not missing a second here, goes right back into the main. He's going for the production, and yet again, I mean, this base, it is in tatters here. Takes out a few of Maru's Ravens as well, takes out the rest of the army. GG, TY, what a game.
You know, Ben, TY was ahead for a lot of that game, so a lot of people might look at that win and say, oh, well, TY won in the end as expected, but my God, if you did not watch the last 5 minutes of that game, I don't think anyone explaining it could convince you that all of that happened. That Maru actually almost turned that game around like that.
I'm honestly, even though TY played phenomenal, I am so impressed that Maru actually made a game out of that, because at one point I was like, if anybody can, it's Maru. And yeah. My golly, like, he's so good at those late game situations. It's no wonder he wants to get there. The thing is, TY gone to the mid game masterfully. Every game he kind of pushed Maru. Even though Maru wants to be defensive, TY is so good at being aggressive that he pushed him out of the comfort zone of where he really wanted to be. I'm just, what a great TVT.
Absolutely phenomenal. God, I feel like we really got blessed with this good old TVT and a TVT group. But guys, we are going to go to a break before we get to hear from the man himself, the winner of that series. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
TY with the victory over Maru here, especially in that game number 2. A grueling back and forth there. TY constantly putting on the pressure. Maru recovering, going for craziness. I loved that game. That was a fantastic game. One of my favorite games so far here of the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice 2021. We've got Pig and Nathanius to break down some of the other stuff that was going on here throughout the tournament as well. And Pig, I want to come straight to you because you had Clem versus Bjorn, I think.
No, that was actually Miss Nathanius.
Well, okay. Anyway, yeah, Pig, I kind of want to come to you anyway because you had to then solo versus Showtime.
That is right, that is right. Solar Showtime is actually still ongoing. Solar kind of smashed game 1 with the big old Queen Swarmos push, and he managed to lose game 2 there after Showtime kind of came back and defended the same sort of attack in the second map using a non-Void Ray build. And here we are live in game 3. Showtime took the advantage. It was kind of a bit more of a straight to the late game. Solar going for the lurkers, and really Showtime got a big advantage. He got into carriers, he had the upgrade advantage, the base advantage. But Solar just built a ton of spores, and he just kept hanging on. Showtime was bouncing between his bases, picking things off. But it was actually Solar's Abduct Micro, which really got him back into this game. He kept picking off carriers. We can see a Yoink there, just pulls an Oracle to its death. And that's been giving Solar some fantastic value over the past 10 minutes of this game. We've seen Showtime did take out the kind of bottom left, the middle left base of Solar. Solar took out the top right base there that Showtime had. They both mined a lot of those resources out. As you can see, the map's rather dry at this point because they both have about 20,000 resources in the bank. Solar's bank a little bit heavier there, but both of them incredibly rich, and neither player wants to make a mistake. Earlier, Solar was heavy into the Ultras, doesn't have many of those. Just a pack of Ultra Zergling left from the earlier stages, and he swapped more into Broodlord and Lurker Corruptor. Now, at this point, I think most of the Lurkers are gone, and it's like almost mass Spellcaster for Solar. There is a ton of Infestors, there's Vipers, he's got a lot of Corruptors. The Showtime is playing one of the most patient Protoss games. He knows he doesn't want to take a bad fight, and so both of them are just stepping in. Look at it, Solar's trying to long distance mine that gas geyser.
Oh. Void Rays.
Yeah, wow. Well, hey, they look pretty, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
That's a lot of laser beams.
He actually got scared off the Void Rays after losing that one, but when you try to build 50 Corruptors, it's probably a good idea to go back into them. So Showtime, you know, he knows his unit counters. He's a big brain boy, and he's just trying to pick away at things from afar with the Tempests, but Ola is covering the map in spores. He's like controlling it.
Yeah.
I forecast this game should finish somewhere between, you know, August, September 21. But it may go to 2022. I'm not 100% sure. I can't guarantee it, guys.
Well, I'm gonna need more thorough analysis on that if I'm gonna buy some calls on this one. Okay, I need all the breakdowns, all the numbers.
Oh, he's leaving. Oh, okay.
One Void Ray did just go down. So I would say Showtime stocks are going through the floor. They are crashing after that one Void Ray falling. On the other hand, he did get a Hive. I don't know, Nate. I feel like this game's going to go for another 15 minutes at least.
Well,
someone's going to get bored and crash their army into the other one. And at that point, I mean, it's all about efficiency. It's the worst fight, we'll lose the game.
all right. Well, thank you very much, Pig. We'll check in with Dimauer Street in a few months' time, I suppose. As we now head over to Nate, who did have Clem versus Bjorn. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, you know, there weren't, as far as the highlight stuff goes, I didn't have anything crazy for you there because Clem kind of quickly wiped the floor with Beyond. And I know it sounds crazy. They had a game on Pillars of Gold. Clem's like, I'm going to do my first attack. Beyond's like, okay, I'm going to die. I guess I'll just die then. And it quickly went into game 2 on Deathor, which ended up being slightly more back and forth, except Beyond tried to do a few early attacks again, got shut down by Clem, and then Clem got a huge upgrade lead and was just making really good siege plays. And I mean, honestly, the craziest thing about this match, the result, Clem coming in so hot. Now he's got 2 match wins in this group and taking down Beyond, who everybody, you know, that's one of the guys that was trying to fanboy over, like, oh, is he good? Is he there? But Clem says, I'm not here for romantic tales. I'm here to win games.
Yeah, and I guess with that result, then it's looking a little bit more dicey here for Bjorn, Pig. When, I mean, a lot of people's hopes are on him to try and do well, especially after what we saw in the round of 36 and subsequent tournaments before that. But what are your thoughts now? He might have a hard time here.
Yeah, I think it's really a big problem for him to lose to Clem, especially because Clem is the sort of player who's going to engage in that aggressive warfare, that high pace, high momentum game. That's meant to be Beyond's forte. He's meant to win against those sort of players. I don't expect him to beat Maru, but I do expect him to be the favorite against Clem. So that's a really rough loss. I mean, the thing we love about the round robin format is you don't go out that easily. We've seen people make crazy comebacks through these groups over the years.
Yeah.
I don't want to count him out, but it's getting very urgent that he starts winning some games.
No, definitely so. Especially as well for someone like Bjorn, who we know has, you know, condition problems. He doesn't want to be prolonging a lot of this as well. And if you end up, well, I mean, it's difficult to get into the round of 8 after you've lost 2 series, I suppose. But trying to skip as many series as possible might be useful for someone like that in that position. So let's quickly look at all the other updates that have gone on in this group. There's not too much more beyond what we've talked about just there. So Clem 2-0 and TY 2-0 here, Nathanius, which is a brilliant start for both of those boys.
Yeah, well, like I was saying, it's fantastic because at the beginning, when we talked about all the groups before the first 2 days of Katowice, we're all like, oh, you know, some of these games are going to be more impacted than others by whoever makes it through.
Yeah.
And I thought that Beyond, you know, maybe could shake this group up a lot, but it's turned out a completely different way, and I'm all for it. I'm loving it.
Yeah, I mean, it goes to show, I guess, why some of these guys were already in the group stage to start things off here for the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. So thank you very much, gentlemen. We're going to go to a short break, and then when we return, we have another series on the way from Group A, baby. We'll see you in a few. Welcome back. Things are heating up here for Group A so far with our Terrans ruling the roost up at the top. However, now we move on to something a little bit different as we're going to have a ZVT on the way, and I have with me, joining me, we have Rotterdam as well as Fear Dragon to break things down. Gentlemen, this is a very important match, it feels like. Our next match is going to be Maru going up against Solar, both of which Fear Dragons sit 1-1 in the group right now as we take a look at the group overall and see how those numbers do stack up. So this match could potentially down the line determine who actually makes it through to that round of 12 potentially.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've already hit the point where most of the matches in the group have played out, or we're getting close to it. So it's getting down to that point where like every single match is going to have that added level of stress, because all of the players, you know that they're doing all the math. They're like, okay, I'm 2-0, I'm facing these players, like I can beat them, I might be able to beat them, except you look at the group and it's like, oh right, it's a group of death. Everyone's that you look at is like, I might beat them, I might beat them, I might beat them, I might beat them. It's stressful. It's a stressful time.
Yeah, definitely so. And I feel like at least the one thing going in Maru's favor here, Roddy, is the fact that for the most part, Solar right now has only won his ZVP. So it's looking all right for maybe a little Maru here.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a little dramatic. Like, he lost against TY. He hasn't beat a Terran today. Come on, James. You're better than that.
Alright.
It is a very important match, though. Like, 1-1, this is obviously a pretty crucial moment in the group. 2-1, you put yourself in an excellent position to at least secure top 3. And I don't think we have to explain this, by the way, because I don't think we did. Basically, the winner of the group will immediately make it into the quarterfinals. So that's fantastic. But as long as you place top 3 in the group, you will make it into the playoffs, the round of 12. It's just you have one extra round to play, but most players will be like, top 1 is awesome as long as I get top 3. And well, to get top 3, this is a really important one, obviously, for both Solar and Maru.
Yeah, definitely so. And of course, eventually down the line, we'll actually know what maps they're going to be playing on, etc., and things like that. But I think when it comes to Maru, someone like Maru Fear Dragon, he is very, very good when it comes to this matchup, and very aggressive at times when it comes to this matchup as well, let's be fair.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he is the guy who I think literally had an entire year where his reputation was he proxies every single game. So I would definitely say he's pretty aggressive. And I have to say, like, it's funny because you look at that last series where TY beats Maru. And yeah, game 1, I think TY actually had a much more firm hold on that game. But you look at the end of that game 2, and that actually scares me for anyone that has to face against Maru, because it's like, oh my God, Maru's looking really good at the end of that game. He's looking really strong. He's taking great fights. He has good positional play. He has great micro, and he's got grit. That is one of the most frustrating things you could face off against.
Grit is a good way to describe it, because, I mean, Roddy, when you look at that TY-Maru match, if Maru was surviving those attacks and then coming back against anybody else, probably chances are Maru would end up winning that game, but it's TY in the end.
And he so often does, right? And that's why I think we kind of like Maru, because throughout his entire career there have been so many moments where it's like, yeah, this game is super over. Like, why is Maru still in it? And it's like, is there a chance? We're like, no. Well, yes, no, yes, and then in the end he is. But James, I don't know if we have time for this, because I know we have to talk about the maps a little bit. It's a best of 3. You guys can see it in the bottom of the screen. But I do have a segment of that final fight of Solar Showtime. And since we were kind of teasing the audience on the main stream, I think it'd be really cool if we could show this fight real quick. But I don't know if I'm allowed to. You're the man in charge.
Well, we will see. I am getting word that they're going to be maybe trying to figure this out here for you. So what did you say? It was the Solar Showtime match, correct?
Yes, and since obviously you guys were talking about it on the desk for a while, and it was like a 40-minute game almost, I thought it'd be kind of cool to at least show the most crucial fight. Not exactly where the game ends, but, you know, they were dancing with each other for quite some time. I believe we're ready, so let's go ahead and hop into the game. So this is it. This is kind of what we were waiting for, what it all boiled down to. Solar uses a little circling ultra attack. And then you can see that the Corruptors are coming in from the bottom. And this entire fight, like, I don't know what you think, Fear Dragon, but it feels to me, I think the Storm is cool and stuff, right?
Oh, no.
But
I know what you're talking about. What's coming up?
Fungal. And look at the Protoss army movement, guys. Like, he's not really fighting. Showtime is, like, obviously scared because he's getting fungaled. Fungal and Parasitic Bomb is one hell of a combo. But this Protoss army is running more than it's actually fighting. And like I feel like this almost entire fight that we've been waiting for so long ends without a real actual fight, because this Protoss army is retreating, it's moving. Unfortunately, it just wasn't really fighting a whole lot, and Needless to say, this is what allowed Solar to eventually take the victory in this game, because the fight that was supposed to be the truly epic game-ending fight turned into not much of a fight.
Yeah, kind of.
I actually wanted to ask you about that. There's the disruptors also that come in like halfway into the fight and stuff, and are like, I know that a lot of pros players have said like the disruptors are supposed to be this answer to infestors that are getting off all these fungals and everything. Do you feel like that actually was going to be a big difference maker there, or like what do you think needed to happen? Like what were the units that were super out of position there?
I don't know, but I do think as a Protoss player, when you've been waiting so long to take like this fight eventually, like I actually don't really like Tempest in these scenarios. I think Tempest are obviously good in chipping away at Spore Crawlers, sometimes getting a couple of hits off at Brutal Lords, but it's not really the unit you want to have there. I think at the end of the day, you know Fungo is scary, you know Parasitic Bomb is scary, but if you're ready to fight, if you're maxed out, then I think you should just fight. Even if the initial engagement may scare you a little bit, you're like, whoa, I got fungal, whoa, I got parasitic bombed. You need to fight, because you're never going to win the fight if you're just moving around and running.
Yeah, I like the point. Yeah, something like Tectonic destabilizers for those Tempests, as you say, good for chipping away, but not too great in that fight for moving forwards. Well, gentlemen, we are ready to head over to our commentators to bring us Solar going up against Mara. So you know what? Let's do that. Let's go.
Thank you so much, Calaris. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we are here to talk to you about the upcoming match. We have, it's going to be awesome. You know, Pig, usually we have to fight each other. We get into these arguments. We have, you know, things just get so rough over here fighting over which games we get to cast. But today, there wasn't really any fighting that had to happen. All these matches are pretty freaking sick.
Yeah, at this point, you just throw your name in the hat and you say any of these games, I think we're real happy to watch them, cast them, absorb just a little fraction of all of that greatness.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And Solar Mario TVZ. This is that good. We, on my little preview, I'm seeing the cameras of the players as they're getting ready for this match, and it is sure to be an exciting one. Do you got a horse in this race then, Jared, or no?
Oh, you know, I really feel like this is one where Solar, I kind of want him to just achieve greatness right now, because he's looked so close to beating Trap when Trap won a recent big tournament. He's looked so close to beating Beyond when Beyond goes on to win the big tournament. You know, Solar has been so close to toppling almost all the recent champions, and he's beaten a ton of other really good players recently as well. So part of me kind of wants him to just achieve that level, but when you've got that big Terran standing in front of you, man, it's no easy task.
No, absolutely not. It's a Herculean feat to defeat this man, and he's not been untouched in this tournament, but he is still looking fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, in the top left position, we have our blue Terran player. He is Maru. That's so cute.
I love it. It's so adorable. Of course, his opponent down here in the bottom right going to be sending out a second drone to scout for any proxy barracks shenanigans. In the red, representing Kaisi Gaming, it's Solar.
In a matchup like this, Pig, this is one of those ones where once upon a time we would have spent the entire early game talking about what kind of insane cheese does Solar need to do to beat Maru, or perhaps if we go back far enough in time, we ask ourselves, where will Maru be proxying his barracks? But he's not quite as predictable as he used to be, and he also doesn't come off as bulletproof as he used to be either. So I think that makes this matchup interesting, because we've had a couple of upsets already here and there, and even in the earliest stages of this tournament. So I'm wondering what Solar's going to bring to the table, because I'm not sure that I quite understand what exactly he might even be thinking he needs here, if it's anything other than just a really good, straight-up normal macro game.
Yeah, I feel like Solar has been really good at controlling the early to mid stages of TVZ. Even when a Terran player looks kind of uncontrollable, Solar's really good at kind of shutting down their first few pushes, and really controlling things with Muta, Ling, Bane, especially one of his big specialties. What I do think Solar sometimes runs out of steam with is his ability to close the map out. Sometimes when he has an advantage, I feel he could drone a bit harder. I feel he could double down on his creep spread. And I also feel he could split his army. Sometimes I do feel like Solar struggles to kind of just dominate the map in the late mid game and early late game the way I'd like him to when he has that advantage. And that can be scary because we just saw the grit, of course, the guys that we're talking about at the desk that Maru showed in that TVT. His ability to hang on. He will not leave unless you force him out, and he's very good at clawing it back in the late game. So I guess that's the one thing which worries me about Solar. It's the one area he needs to really focus on. How does he capitalize and finish off games if he can gain a lead against Maru?
And I think that's an excellent point. I mean, we were, you, me, and everybody else were just biting our nails watching the end of that last TVT, right? Because we're like, oh, this one looks over, it should be done. And then Maru's like, oh, are you giving me the tiniest little space to slip between the cracks? He's like, well, it turns out I actually don't have any bones, and I can contort my body to fit through tight spaces if I need to. And of course, TY is a fantastic player who wasn't about to give it away that easily. But yeah, I think it's one of the most frustrating things, right, about playing against Maru is how tenacious he is. If you leave even a single thread out, he's going to pull it all the way until your game plan completely unravels into a heap on the floor. And that's never a good time, Pig. It's never a good time when that happens.
Indeed. We're going to see Overlord speed, so Solar wants to scout everything that's going on. It's a Hellion Viking opening with a super quick third command center from Maru. I really do enjoy having a Viking out against the speed Overlord build because it's already a little bit of an, I guess, inefficient opening. The Zerg investing a lot in that scouting, and if your Viking can pop out and just shoot down this first Overlord, make it very costly every time they want to get a scout off. You might even intercept the Overlord ahead of time. Gives you some good windows to make good use of that. And no real safety precautions at all for Maru. A greedy game one start. Doesn't even have a tech lab down. Who needs a tech lab? He's like, nah, no Banshee, nothing like that. I'll just start stim, go to 3 barracks from here, double eBay, and he's going to have that bio explosion out across the map very early on. So for Solar, the question is, how do I maintain pace? How do I keep on par with a player who's going to have such a big economic explosion? For him, he's already pushing creep towards the middle of the map, so I think he's already poised and thinking about establishing a 4th base and fighting for his life to hang on to that.
Yeah, I mean, it just immediately brings me back to what you were saying at the start of this game, right? It's about Solar being decisive and being very assertive in the direction that he goes. You know, not playing too middle of the road, taking an opportunity to be greedy and being really greedy. But at the same time, Maru's going to keep the pressure up. That was such a fast third command center. And we've got double engineering bay finishing now to start those upgrades very early while the rest of the barracks get done and the reactors get complete. But Maru hardly has anything to stop what would, you know, if there was a run by or something that could have gotten there. But that's the whole point of the way that he plays. When he plays so fast and stays out on the map, he forces Solar to stay back and defend, even though he's playing one of the greediest possible setups that he could go for. These Zerglings going to try to catch the Hellions on the way out, but with 7 drones killed and the Liberator Pig, Maru is roasting and toasting some drones.
Yeah, the Liberator sliding around the back door. One of the advantages of Romanticide, there's so many angles for those air units to come from. The fact that the Hellions were able to distract and create that opening at the same time, a splendid maneuver. 9 worker kills, and the Liberator continuing to reposition, getting as much value as possible. And Maru patiently pulls the Liberator away. Oh, he's going to go back in. That's when I was about to praise his patience. He does throw the Liberator away there, but grabs 1, 2 more drones. Very nice damage when you have a 3rd mineral line that's already mining. When your upgrades are almost a minute ahead, and you've already got the Marine factories just, you know, I guess they're barracks, not factories, but the Marine producing powering away. And there's always that point where you go, well, supply's all right for Zerg, but I am afraid as those reactors come online, I think Maru, I mean, he's about to force the Zerg into full defense, and he's going to have such a big production behind this.
Yeah, waiting for that 1-1 in the combat shields. Can't quite contest 4 queens with 30 Zerglings behind them, but as you were talking about, Romanticide has a good amount of airspace for jumping around between these bases. So it comes over to that natural, gets a few drones, forces the Spore to reposition, and of course keeps those Lings moving around. All in the meanwhile, living very safely at home And I think this is, you can't really overstate the importance of keeping on this pressure, even if it's not doing catastrophic damage, because at the end of the day, if your opponent has to spend their whole time staring at their own base defending against you, they're not attacking you, and that gives you a whole lot of room to breathe.
Yeah, more units loading up, and there's 2 siege tanks in there. That's looking like, you know, he's already cleared that creep on the north. He's definitely thinking about putting tanks on the high ground above Solar's 4th base. He's going to have Hellions up there, Marines, and he's going to try and maybe even set up on the bridge, but probably on this high ground just above those Queens. And if he can get those tank siege, it's going to be a hard position for Solar to engage into. He knows about it though. Solar gets the jump on it, doesn't let Maru set up. A very important first stage of the defense, forces Maru to set up quite far back. Solar has got to pull those Queens out of there though.
Yeah, it's bleeding out. It looks like 1 or 2 of them there. There's the transfuse on one of them. Link's coming from behind. I like that he leaves the Helldat there to kind of catch him, but the tanks not sieged in time to really give the support that they need for this army, and they're going to get cleaned up. The Marines are still alive. The Pig, well, it's going to be hard to push on creep against Speed Veins.
Indeed, Solar, the Speedbane master. He loves to get that upgrade up quickly, and once he has it, it's very difficult to find a way in. Solar is up to 80 workers behind this. He's got his 2-2. Actually has closed the gap on that a little bit as well. Maru was quite far ahead on the upgrades, but they're very close to each other as Solar drops extra gases, 5th base, and goes up towards the Infestation and Hydra Tech. So we're going to see Hydra Lurker, that sort of late game, come out of Solar. And it is indeed a very powerful way of playing the game. But Maru here still has a lot of Marines on the map. He just doesn't have too much to back it up just yet. He's gone for a 4th command center, a 2nd factory. But for now, it's more about harassment and kind of just chipping away at the Zerg than any real serious push.
Yeah, and we can see the way he's got his Marines spread. Like, this isn't a crazy amount, but that hatchery down to half of its hit points and continuing to drop. Doesn't want to risk it because he sent a huge amount of his army across the map for this backstab. We have SCVs getting blown to smithereens. This is kind of what I was talking about. The first opportunity that Solar is able to go for a counter, he gets a huge payoff because Maru has just constantly been sending everything straight across the field.
Yeah, well, that tank's so annoying. Maru trying to set up all over the place, but he does lose all the workers on his 3rd base. He takes out the 4th of Solar. If he can get a few more workers on top of that, it'll be nice for Maru. But right now, it's looking like Solar has a big economy edge. Oh, the Banelings find the Marines. Solar defends both sides, immediately rebuilds his 4th base. He has the new 5th up in the bottom, and that's a good trade for the Zerg. Happy to drag Maru's economy down into the dust. He's just got to withstand these next few attacks, and Maru's tanks, they keep bleeding out. Maru's on almost pure Marine right now. If we look at the unit stuff, you can see that his army is almost pure Marines in this game. Oh, the tanks are going down.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's losing a lot of the tanks. He's still keeping that pressure up, though. Got that base snipe. But yeah, the map presence has been huge. It's 52 Marines with just 3 tanks. And that's, of course, with a couple of them having just finished in the last minute or so. And having 2 factories does make it a bit easier to get back into that tank production. Having a high tank count in these types of situations is really important if you want to use tanks. Just 1 or 2 is going to give the Zerg a little too much freedom to dance around, especially once those lurkers come out and the Viper play gets added into the mix. You know those are going to be huge targets for the Abducts and or Blinding Clouds.
Just 2 Vipers to start. Such a good investment. Parasitic bombs on the Medevac's also going to be a way of working down those Lurker Hive Tech upgrades starting up. And the attack upgrades for the ranged units as well. Solar's under a lot of pressure right now. The fact that he's maintaining control while Maru keeps just poking and prodding, it's impressive. Solar's creep is still out there. It's not a crazy amount of map control for him. But keep in mind that Maru's economy is not where he'd like it to be. 63 SCVs at a point in the game where I think he'd much rather have about 80, 85 workers. Solar's the one who is closer to maxed out. He's the one whose tech is also jumping up at a fierce scale with those lurkers coming in onto the map.
Yeah, well, he's been playing such a swarmy style with his bio, right? And I'm wondering if that's why he's okay with, like, okay, I'll take the old standard 66 SCVs, but here we have the tanks getting blinding clouded right as they are able to siege up outside that base, and we know that spells demise for them. So many Zerglings, so many Banelings. The Marines were never able to get a foothold to actually stand and deliver against this army, especially with the siege tanks being insta-deleted. And this is one of those it's a really stressful situation to be in because, as you were talking about earlier, we didn't really have a transition prepared. You know, there's not a bunch of ghosts waiting back at Maru's base that are going to be going for snipes. We don't have Liberator range research with 3 starports pumping them out to try and cut the map in half. We've just got Marines, Marauders, and some tanks. The Ghost Academy finally starts up with some Vikings, but Pig, is it perhaps a little late here as the 7 lurkers with those upgrades are going to be out soon?
Yeah, definitely looks like a hard position for the Terran here. I mean, having a good siege tank count is actually not a bad counter to lurkers, but he's lost so many siege tanks. Maru finally finds an opening, gets rid of a hatchery and a couple of workers there, and he needs that. He needs to buy time. He needs to somehow secure a 5th base while keeping Solar on his side of the map. Solar, though, is a player who understands this game on a very deep level, and he knows that his army is strong, and now is the time for him to fight. He wants to shut these drops down and get over to the other side of the map because Maru is not ready to defend a lurker assault.
I love the way Solar intelligently puts the parasitic bomb on the medevac with a little bit more HP, knowing that the splash would kill both of them since the cloud remains after it dies. But one of them, even almost equally impressive, Maru, with the way that he split that off to save these Marines. Every single unit he has for that pressure is so important. And these guys are going to see in the bottom left, Solar's kind of sending some forces around. He knows that Maru's been stashing guys, and Maru not looking is going to lose all of the Marines that are over there. But Pig, the Larkins, they're coming!
Yeah, they already forced a siege up in the north. Not as many tanks here. A bit of a fierce thrust forward from Solar. That one siege tank in the natural is doing an insane amount of damage. Solar, maybe a little cavalier with that one. The Banelings do take out a lot of SCVs on the 4th, some of them, but not all of them. Oh, Ling's getting in as well. Engineering base burning. It's a bit of a scrappy attack as Maru stabs in the rear, takes out a bunch of overlords. The rally will eventually clean this up, though, and as Maru's 4th base falls to the lurkers, Solar can pull back, and he knows that he's got a very important victory. 5 base Zerg versus 3 base Terran. Zerg up 50 supply. That is a fantastic situation here for Solar. He's just looking really in control in that one of the series.
Yeah, I can't believe the way that, I mean, you were talking about it. It was quite a thrust moving all the lurkers up that ramp. And normally it's like, oh yeah, if the siege tanks are a little far forward, you just jump on them with the lurkers. But those tanks are pretty far back. You got out quite a bit. And speaking of, the ghosts are going to trim the fat a little bit on the edge of the creep there as well, trying to buy a little more time, create a little bit more space for Maru. But I guess if you're playing in Solar's position and you're able to kill that 4th or continue to deny it or put pressure on it, that really is the lifeblood of the Terran army. Maru's supply has been going back up towards 200 a lot more slowly this time.
Yeah, he's been bruised. That very first big attack on his 3rd base, killing almost 30 SCVs. I mean, that has been such a problem for Maru, and the fact that every attack consecutively he's lost his siege tanks without really finding that amazing trade that he wants. I mean, yeah, he's a little more efficient in the units lost. That's normal here. Solar's taken more of the map. He's exposed himself to more risks. And often you'll see Terran players way ahead by this point in the units lost tab. This is not the case in this game. Maru, though, he's hanging on. We talked about his grit, his determination, and the fact that Solar's good at getting control, not always good at finishing the game off. And right now, Maru, I mean, he's hanging on in here. He's trying to continue to find damage. These drops just doggedly poking again.
Man, that hatchery, though, surviving with 70 hit points. He was willing to leave the bio there and just run with the medevacs, hoping that he could, at the very least, try to put another dent in that income chart. As we're seeing, it's a nice little advantage for Solar. He's got that money cash rolling in. And despite all of the efforts to the contrary, Maru has not been able to really call the economy of Solar. As you pointed out, Pig, he's been spreading his creep very effectively. He's taken the east side expansion back. He's taken that even further northeast expansion. Thank you. A wonderful observer, Mapu. And double Spire on the way with those 3/3 Ling upgrades. So the option to make that transition into Broodlords, or even if it's just a couple of Corruptors and Mutalisks that are necessary for a little here and there play, is going to open up some doors. But the Ghosts, as the Ghost count rises, you know, Terran versus Zerg can get pretty weird. You don't want him to get caught, but the amount of damage output from those cloaked snipes can be very, very powerful.
They went pretty deep, did these Ghosts. A few of them get surrounded. Parasitic bombs go down. Some of the Ghosts being picked up to safety. Quite a few of them do fall, but as do a lot of Zerg units. And Maru there definitely waving the red flag in front of the bull that is Solar. Baits him into the siege tanks. Does take a pretty good trade. He'll need a lot more of those. And you know what? Oh, we're getting that snipe on the hatch behind it as well. This is good. This is what Maru needs to do to drag his way back into this. He's building extra command centers, but it's like one at a time. So if he loses a fourth, he can't secure a fifth, you know, he's going to run out of steam very quickly. But if Maru can keep up these little bits of light pressure, pick off a hatchery here or there, take this central base with the rich gas, then he will be able to start to regain some control over this map. The Ghosts are an incredibly high value unit if the game goes long enough. But even that previous attack, it used a lot of their energy. It's going to take them a while to recover that. So the Ghosts are a unit that's efficient over a long period of time. They are always at risk of getting overwhelmed.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. They don't really fight well on their own. Sure, they do some bonus damage to light units, but you know they're not shooing as fast as Marines are. And there's the parasitic bomb on that double Marauder drop to force the unload on at least one of them. Marauders not known for their efficacy against Zerglings, and this medevac is going to unload by the natural, trying to find a place to go. It's been very hard because Solar has been so on top of either splitting his army up to deal with these forces or getting those parasitic bombs off, getting those abducts off, and kind of taking the drop play out of the game a little bit, which makes it even more impressive, right, with like those random hatchery pickoffs that Maru's been able to get thus far.
The upgrade tab getting very full there for Zerg. +2 range, pathogen glands, double air upgrades. All sorts of things starting to slide on out for Solar, but I think he's just going to wait for his moment. And this is a mature choice by Maru, taking that base on the left side of the map. He's got that beautiful tank spread turrets everywhere. Now, we saw a similar stalemate to this in one of the Beyond Several matchups from, I believe it was the Last Chance tournament. And really the answer to this is to come out with a surprise round of Broodlords. If you can come out and they don't have too many Vikings enough to one-shot Broodlords or a bunch of Thors or something like that, you can kind of just swing in and say, look, you've got a crazy high tank count. Yes, that's very scary. The Ghosts are very good. But if I can just come in with a big wave of Broodlords, fully positioned and prepared, that definitely can do very well. But I think it's very dangerous, right? We've seen Broodlords just die to Vikings. We've seen them get sniped and look useless if the infestors covering them get EMP'd. So I think for now, Solar's playing more of a look. I'm still ahead on the bank. Let's wait for you to stretch yourself out a little bit too thin. I will open up the Great Aspire tech so that I've got that option. But for now, he seems to just be kind of waiting for Maru to make a misstep. And Maru has been playing super patiently. He's not giving him that opportunity at all. He's just kind of chilling.
Seeing the lurkers move forward to take a tank and a sensor tower in a place where they can't really push further than that really just tells you they're fighting for every single inch. Every little tiny bit that can be grabbed is worth its weight in gold in this type of game, because we're already kind of getting to that, all right, I'm taking the corner bases, I'm just going to try and throw everything at you, and hopefully that cost-effective Terran army just doesn't hold up, right? You want to burn through that ghost energy, and it will eventually come down as well, as we see that parasitic bomb get another 2 medevacs. A lot of it's going to come down to that control of the Ghosts versus the Vipers, right? Whether you're getting those abducts, those blinding clouds, those parabombs, whether you're landing those snipes or they're getting canceled, or getting the EMPs, right, on either the Vipers or the Infestors. Those specialist units are so integral, because 2 blinding clouds in the right spots over those tanks makes them all useless, right?
Indeed, indeed. Absolutely does, Nate. And this Viking count's getting kind of crazy right now. Like, I wish we could see the units tab, because I keep seeing 4 Vikings building at a time, and I'm like, isn't that too many? Like, he's got 9 Vikings out. He's going to go up to at least 14 or 15. Like, that's a very high Viking count. They're not being upgraded by Maru either. So I think he's honestly expecting that Broodlord switch that I talked about. I think he's saying, look, I've locked this down so well with such a heavy tank count. Okay, so he is now upgrading those Vikings attack. There we go. He hasn't added that on. But yeah, I feel like he's just kind of saying, look, you're probably going to try and bust me with Broodlords. As long as I have Vikings to defend that, to gun down your Vipers as well, then I can be good. And you know what's going to win me a really slow game? It's either range lives or even better, a whole bunch of battle cruisers with 3-3. The best harassment unit in the game, funnily enough. The battle cruiser, their ability in the late game to just pick units off with Yamato, they're so efficient.
Yeah, I was going to say, you just want to try to avoid having them get into a fight where the corruptors are involved. But otherwise, yeah, the ability to either even just yeeting some in, trying to shut down tech, or keeping the teleport for an escape path. But Maru's not quite as poor as he was earlier, right? We've seen the game state change. He's done a good job of developing everything a little bit further forward. Vikings are going to come grab this Overseer and be bringing out the nukes. Yes, the Spores can reposition. Yes, the Lurkers can reposition very easily. But you're creating space on the map when you use these zoning nukes that kind of say, hey, if you're not here, that means I can inch forward just a little bit more, almost like a sort of trench warfare style setup. And there's that Liberator range that you were talking about, Pig. That's starting up now. I think that's a phenomenal way of dealing with the Lurkers because they have so much range. And then if you want to bring the Corruptors or Vipers over, that's when the Ghosts get involved. And that becomes the old Terran versus Zerg late game dance, right? That we've come to know in Legacy of the Void.
Part of me is looking at this situation now. Solar there has a 16,000 resource bank up against Maru's 5,000. That's massive. Over 10,000 resource advantage. But the problem is he hasn't been able to use it. And where can he find a way to use it? Right now, abducting in the bottom left, grabs the siege tanks out. Does do some damage there. He's trying to run in now. Lurker's going to burrow on top of that tank and that planetary. Ling's taking out the morphing extra planetary. But a whole lot of Lurkers do fall. This is not cheap. I know that there's a few Bronze League players out there shouting it in the Twitch chat already. Where's the Nidus worm? But honestly, I'd love it every day. Like,
I would too.
Be sick.
I mean, that's the absolute best way to exploit this, right? Other than just trying to stretch the opponent thin on the defense, and I was saying that may not even be necessary. Gets all of the tanks by the center position base with the gold gas, kills the command center, and the Hydras are still moving forward over here. So, yeah, there's that anchor planetary to hold it down, but Maru's counterattack is hitting a base that has already been, I mean, for the most part, mined out. There's some minerals left, but at this stage, you really just want to make sure you're pulling in that gas, and that base is close enough that, I mean, in a worst-case situation, that's not going to be that hard for Solo to secure later on if he needs to. Maru, I feel like he's not getting quite enough done here with this setup, with this army composition that he has. The Ghosts are being chased back towards that fourth base as well.
Mass Zergling, you know, there's not many Marines anymore. It's mostly just Ghosts and Siege Tanks. And the Zerglings actually do really well in this scenario. Those Ghosts pulling back are gunning them down. Attacking into planetaries, multiple planetaries, not the best there. Okay, the tail end of that trade got really nasty. But the moves before that were great. Solar here, as Maru spreads out to not just a 5th base, but a 6th base, a 7th base, Solar's finding angles just with this swarm of unit advantage. And the thing is, the fact that Maru's retaking those bases, that's an opportunity. That's actually a huge misstep in my opinion. If Solar keeps jumping on those with these same sort of mid-gear armies, he'd do really well. I think Brutals is a terrible mistake at this point. I actually feel like if he just kept making Hydraling Bane, he's seen Mass Viking, the Ghosts are low on energy, he's cleared the siege tank count out. This is the time to stay on the low tier units. I think he's swapping into air at exactly the wrong moment. Maybe he can make it work. Let's see what Solar can do here.
Yeah, I was going to say, I couldn't agree with you more, Pig, because he just saw, right? We just had a couple of units get picked off by that big round of Vikings that Maru has. And I was thinking the same thing as you, because even with just a few Lings and Hydras and Banes, he's been crazy cost-effective. Look, he's going to get all the siege tanks here, might even blow up this planetary or the SCVs on it. He's going to get everything. I feel like going into Broodlords might be one of the few ways that he could throw from the position that he was in. Not that Maru's completely out of it, but I feel, you know, Solar's kind of been in the driving seat as far as the main armies go. Maru's had to avoid that head-on confrontation because Solar has started to amass such a terrifying horde, you could call it.
Oh, dude, that is a huge snipe. Maru taking out the 2 most mineral-rich bases of Solar. Right at this moment where Solar's bank has just been spent, you can see there on his camera, he's moving around in his chair a little bit. You could see him kind of glance down at his keyboard for a moment. You could tell he's a little rattled losing those hatcheries. He's quickly rebuilt them in the top right. But suddenly, that income advantage, that money advantage, where is it? Maru's got those two fresh, completely unmined bases in the top of the map. They're getting cemented down, and he's maxed. And Maru has so many more resources to mine from these bases than Solar does. Solar's already mined a lot more of his side of the map. The units lost tab was really good for Zerg earlier in this game. Couple thousand behind, which is really good for this matchup. Now it is way worse. You can see there that the Zerg has just lost an extra 8,000-9,000 resources more. He's going to look to do some damage with the Broodlords. Can he make it happen?
It's not that easy though, right? He's forced to kind of pull back. This is the worst kind of tappy-toe situation to be in, because that Liberator with range tries to zone out the ramp to keep infestors away from the Vikings. There's still a Ghost there too. And yeah, if you can land the fungal onto the center mass of the Vikings, that's nice. But the Corruptors still don't have as much range. So when they come up to try and do anything about those Vikings, the Ghosts then have the opportunity once more to get those snipes off as that middle base is picked off again. And he's just going to run up to snipe the Overseers, trying to limit, of course, the detection range, as those Overseers, when they siege up, they get some wild amounts of true sight over where these cloaked boys are trying to potentially land some snipes or even a nuke from. And I do think I don't think he's rebuilt the nukes though since he fired off the few that he made.
These Broodlords getting some good trades off, but he just can't go too far. If he oversteps for a moment, those EMPs, those Vikings are going to find really big targets. Those snipes on the Broodlords always something that we have to count for as well. And just the continual base sniping from Maru has been very big. If Solar was mining this bottom left this whole time, I feel like he could continue to kind of overwhelm and just kind of strangle Maru, but he hasn't got that. He's just now starting it up. He hasn't really cracked into the production. Now is not the time to Nidus Worm because he's on an air army, but definitely if he ever gets to the point of kind of trading this out and rebuilding a different sort of army, I'd love to see that. For now though, it's all Spellcaster micro. Parasitic Bomb on the Vikings, they're quickly split though. As long as Maru keeps repairing those Vikings up, pulling the SCVs, then he might be able to do well there. And he keeps sniping these hatcheries off, looking for these good little trades on the fringes. But the one real fear as a Terran fan here, Maru done so many things to pull himself back into this game. The Viking count is massive. He's very reliant on it, and they are just damned fragile to these spellcasters. So really is at a point where, oh my god, no, just like that, chain fungal landing. Parasitic Bomb does go down as well. I cannot believe it. Oh my lord,
You've gotta be
the nuke.
You gotta be so careful. Yeah. He starts with the nuke, right? And then you think I think he wanted to kind of bait Solar and say, yeah, I'll give you the fungal on the Vikings because you don't see the Ghost. But that was not the case. The Broodlords targeted down the Ghost, and then all the Vikings ripped to pieces by fungal. Vikings have a lot of range. They do some pretty good damage, but they are made of paper mache, Pig. They fall apart. They get ripped and torn pretty easily. If it's a little drizzly outside and you're carrying it from one classroom to the other, it's going to fall apart in your hands before you get to your seat. And that's something that you have to be really mindful of. You want those Vikings spread out before the fight. You want some of them on one side of the planetary, some of them on the other. It hurts the target firing, but I mean, it's a little bit better than eating that double AoE of the Parasitic Bomb, the Fungal Growth, because that's a wombo combo that is very, very hard to overcome if he wipes out all of your Vikings once or twice.
Man, this is the previous series. Solar won with that exact same move against Showtime. The Fungal Viper combo there. And some EMPs landing, clipping quite a few of those units. Sporkroll on the high ground looking good. I'd love those Broodlords to finish that planetary off. It's burning, and he's not even repairing it right now. Very low, but I think after the EMPs landed and those libs got sieged so far, Solar did not want to take any risks. Instead, going to focus on denying the bottom left base as that Ling Hydra continues to maraud around the map. And yeah, the fact that Solar, I mean, he did it against Showtime in also not an amazing position. Just big Fungal Viper combo, the Parasitic Bomb. He's going to keep looking for it here. Doesn't quite get the detection on that Ghost, and he's just going to back off for now. Pull the Spore Crawler back. We'll have to replace those Creep Tumors and push on back forward. Solar has built himself an impressive bank. He's still chipping away, and even though Maru has those very rich bases in the middle and the top center of the map, Solar is just keeping him well off the bottom side.
Yeah, this game's gotten kind of wild, hasn't it? So that resources lost gets a little bit closer now, about a 7,000 total differential, a little bit better than what we were looking at earlier for Solar. So he is chipping away at a decent pace, and I think if he gets another big round of those Vikings taken down, that should suck out the rest of Maru's bank. These are the types of situations where you just have to be so cautious about every move that you make, because both of these players have pretty much all the pieces that they need to do this. But at this point, it boils down purely to the multitasking, the control, the decision making. 26 Vikings can deal with 16 Broodlords, right? With the Ghost support and some Marines and Thors. Obviously, he doesn't really have Marines at this point anymore, but they'll be the easiest thing for him to replenish in a worst case scenario. But conversely, if the Corruptors with the Parasitic Bomb and a Fungal hit those Vikings, then it swings the other way real freaking quick.
Indeed, Nate. And you talked about spreading out the Vikings. Well, Maru is a braver man than you or I. He absolutely never does it. Same thing against Protoss. When Storm can land, if he's playing against Carrier Skytoss, he will clump his Vikings till the day he dies. And it means he can one-shot units and pick them off. So when he does his micro just right, the way he intends, it gives him amazing ability to pick off units without really taking any damage. But we saw what happens if he gets hit by the Fungal. It's a big if. Maru thinks he's good enough to just make sure it never happens. We on the sidelines, instead of watching with our hearts about to explode, because we know how easy it is for just one Fungal to land in the middle of those Vikings. So it really makes this a nail-biting and exciting match to watch, as the micro on either side could be game-ending. Likewise, if EMP lands on all of the Infestors and Vipers, there's not much support left, and Solar's army just gets overwhelmed.
Yeah, I love the zoning nuke, though. Throws out another one, and he's trying to, once again, kind of keep that space open. You're not running your Infestors or anything in that general direction. Obviously, you don't want to get EMP'd, but being nuked is a little bit worse, I think some people could say. And it's turned into a struggle over the final base, the final uncontested base, right? Or I guess the final contested base being that pocket left corner, which Maru had earlier and kind of got unseated from. But considering that Solar's gotten that top right corner base, I mean, that means the maximum amount of resources available for these two players is not the same if one of them is able to get the majority of this blast, really the last one that neither of them have been able to secure properly. Bringing in, building missile turrets right on top of location. Peggy saying, "This is mine. I want it. Nobody else can have it." The Infestors come forward. Solid EMP. It's a few of them. There is a nuke running, but I don't think he's got the vision to actually go for it yet. The Overseers come up a smidge. They are not able to kill it.
You gotta pull out of there. Okay, Sol, I was like, dude, I thought he maybe thought he'd killed the Ghost that launched the nuke, and I was like, you need to pull back, dude. He does get out of there. From the top side of the map, there's Bio with the Liberator behind. I really love the way Maru is looking for efficiency there. I think Solar, he should be able to overwhelm, but actually more Bio comes in, and this is turning into a really nice fight for Maru. Solar needs to overcommit, I think, to just clear up that fight on the other side, and if Maru can get that base up in the bottom left at the same time, that will be huge. He's going to take out this hatchery in the top right by the looks of it. There's not that much Zerg left to defend. Marauder's very tanky. More EMPs coming forward, but Ghosts do pay with their lives. Ooh, a Fungal clips a few of the Vikings, but only a few. Those EMPs landing, answering the Thors there. More Vikings spread out, so it feels like Maru, he's clumping enough of Vikings to one-shot Broodlords, and the rest are not on a control group. So that's actually very clever. He wants the advantage without, you know, maximizing the downside, I guess. He wants to just try and minimize that risk of getting every single Viking caught by a Fungal.
Yeah, and I don't mind that at all, because as long as you're using enough Vikings to one-shot whatever's on the edge, there's no reason really to risk any more of them, assuming that a Fungal or a Parasitic Bomb comes in. So just really clever heads-up play by Maru once again. The Broodlords are going to show up to the bottom left base. The Ghosts were kind of just running past those spores up north. They are not in position to do much about this right now. And this is, oh my god, so just watching this has just been so intense. The struggle to try and claim the last base that has any moderate level of resources left, even though it's not untouched though, Pig. It's been kind of shared between the two of them. We know the Terran is supposed to be able to do more with less, but in this situation, I think Maru would really like to have some more.
Yeah, both players really, I mean, they know it's going to come down to potentially the last few units in this game, and double nukes now going down to zone out. But remember, each time you nuke like that, that's 100 minerals, 100 gas for each one. So that's 200 minerals, 200 gas. What do you get for it?
An extractor.
A creep shooter. Extractor. I mean, it allows you to mine a little bit of minerals there. So I mean, this does take pressure off you. It allows you to push forward, but ooh, nice answer there. Comes forward with the Broodlords, throws down a wave and pushes them back, forces them to cancel those nukes. This is such a close game, and it seems to have settled down with neither player wanting to really overcommit to the bottom left, but it could still turn very quickly at any moment.
A couple of engaging fungals there from Solar as he's able to get a Ghost or two, a Viking or two, and hits the Thor there. And the Thors can help deal a lot of damage to that air unit, but yeah, there's not really... I guess with the Infestors gone, the Vikings should be able to, with some kiting, deal with a lot of what is here. But I wonder if he can actually chase them, though, because there's so many Corruptors.
The EMP,
and there's still the Spores.
I mean, with the EMPs, like, yeah, you called it, Nate. I mean, they took out the Spellcasters, but the Corruptors doing all right. It looks like taking that base out, though, is huge, because now Solar pushes back all the static in this area. And, oh, he's got just enough Corruptors to jump on top. If there was a few Ghosts in reserve, that's where, like, a big snipe wave would come in, clear the Corruptors, and your Vikings demolish. But enough Fungals and Parasitic Bombs went down that I think so much damage landed on those Vikings before they all got EMP'd. And so because of that, it was just enough to turn that kind of the critical moment where suddenly it doesn't have enough damage output, your Corruptors overwhelm, your Broodlords take out the ground, and now it looks like Solar's got a massively dominating army.
Yeah, and this has been such a well-played game by Solar, taking that engagement at a perfect time when the energy had been burned, when some of the Ghosts had either been out of position or killed already. So that northeast base dies, but Maru is not sitting on a tremendous amount of resources. He still has a couple of bases that are mining, so it's not over by any means, but he's going to start to slowly run out of the gas, sooner than the rest of his resources. And that's kind of where we talked about those Ghosts and those nukes and how cost-effective they are. 100 minerals, 100 gas. It's like, oh, it doesn't sound like a lot for a nuke, but then, you're 40 minutes deep into a game on Romanticide, and, you might have burned about a base or two worth of resources, maybe a whole mineral patch or two, or a whole geyser worth of gas, and you're suddenly wishing that you had some other units instead of that. And this is where I find it just gets so hard, because you tried to use so many Vikings, but as we're talking about, they're a little bit on the flimsier side, and then there were so many Corruptors with those Broodlords, he couldn't actually fight the Broodlords. He was busy trying to deal with the Corruptors the whole time, because those can kill the Vikings too. So now there's the defensive nuke, the panic nuke, but I mean, it takes a pretty huge mistake from a Zerg player to fall for this and get hit by that.
Oh my
goodness, he's trying to get that shot. It does land. He gets all the Broodlords. What? Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh.
No! Cannot.
What?
Oh my God, he was launching nukes in the corner at the same time. So Solar, you can see him there, the reaction in his chair. He cannot believe it. He thought it was a nuke going down on one of his expansions. He did not realize there was one in his army. Oh, great Fungals. He's still in this. He's still going to fight it out. He does not have much money left. He's
I can't.
No.
Oh my God. I'm just sitting there doing my normal thing. I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, this is the part where the Broodlords come in. He's gonna finish him off. He's lost too much. Oh, here's the panic nuke that never works. I'm gonna just chuck the ball up and see what happens. Turns out Randy Moss was there, ladies and gentlemen, because Maru just pulled this game back out from the void, or whatever place you want to say is where we go when we're bad. He managed to save this game from that spot, and what a hell of a way for a 40-minute game one in this best of 3 to have ended. Hey, boy, we picked a good match to do here, huh?
Oh my Lord, dude, you were just doing some great running commentary, and I was just thinking, it's about time I give props to Solar. I was talking before the series about how he sometimes has trouble finishing it off, and even though Maru's fought this to the late game, Solar's done it textbook. It's about to close this. I was about to give the kind of closing remarks commentary of the game. Neither of us expected.
That's what I was trying to do. No, that's never supposed to happen. That's never supposed to happen. I think we're gonna get another look at that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like deals, if you like sales, oh my God, well, enjoy your little highlight of us taking a trip to Value Town, because it is hard to beat that. And you know what, Pig? I can still go back to your earlier anecdote, because at the end of the day, it boils down to what you said earlier, which is that Maru plays so well from behind the moment you get any level of comfort, you're like, oh yeah, I think I've done it. I killed all his ghosts. I killed all of his stuff. I killed his last couple bases. I should be fine now, right? Nope. That's when the one nuke that you couldn't stop hits your whole army. And, well, those GG Lords were, they were still that, but for a different reason.
That was literally just catching a player at the moment when they think the game is over and they're kind of rounding it up mentally and they're going, cool, let's just finish this off. And Maru still had the poise to stay. He's doing little trippy drops. He's launching a nuke in the bottom left corner. And Solar just does not notice that nuke in front of his army. For a moment when he went back in, I thought he noticed the ghost and said, oh yeah, I'm just going to target fire that. I've got time. But by God, what a comeback.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be, if I seem tired for the rest of today's show, it's because all of my energy did come out in holding back my IEM F-bomb there. That was absolutely wild. But here we are in game number 2 because this match ain't over yet. So in the bottom right, leading the series somehow, some way, from Team Envy, it is Maru.
And up here in the top left-hand side of the map, representing Kaisi Gaming, a player who just had a very upsetting loss from ahead. Can he keep it together and rally in this series? It is Solar.
And of course, after all of that, we had to have Maru building barracks in the middle of the map. And this kind of takes me back to my warm blanket place where I say, okay, we're back to reality. The simulation is running as scheduled again. Maru's not building his stuff in his own base. I feel warm and safe again, Pig. And that's a good feeling. I don't know how it'll end, but this brings me a little bit back towards sanity from what we just saw in that 40-minute slugfest of a game.
Yeah, dude, that is absolutely insane. I don't know, man. The pressure's on. It's a hard moment. You're going to need to micro this really well, and being thrown off, it is not going to make this easy. When you are just off your game, even just a tiny bit, it is going to be very, very hard. Drones being pulled out to the front. 3 drones to start that first Marine. Or a lot of hit point damage across this. Nothing landing for Solar just yet.
No, well, and then all of a sudden this turns into an episode of Deadliest Catch, right? We've got the crab monsters coming out all over these Marines, trying to push this back, create that space, and save this. But 5 drones have already died, Pig, and there's still a couple of Marines that were alive from that bunker. I believe should be able to get the cancel on that, so that is definitely going to be one of the things that can help in this type of situation.
Oh, the Overlord.
Oh, well, the Overlord dies and 5 drones. Tell me, Pig, how, what does it look like? Tell me, Doc. Give it to me straight.
This is going to be, I mean, we talked about Maru being great at playing behind. Well, Solar's going to need to be great at it in this game. He is now far behind. What a turnaround, the momentum, the energy in this series. I mean, Solar was literally eating his t-shirt in frustration in between the game. Saw it on the camera. He had his shirt in his mouth. Now his opponent's 2-raxed him. He's been drone scouting for this a lot. He didn't find it. He was not super duper prepared in terms of the micro. And you know what? Just being a little off, Maru says, I'm going to take you to my happy place, microing Marines versus early drones, and I'm just going to take an awesome advantage.
Yeah, that's... I like that you use the word happy place. Reminds me of an old Meet the Pyro video where they put on his glasses and it turns out the guy that just burns everything to the ground sees the world as rainbows and unicorns. That's kind of the vibe you get from Maru sometimes, right? You're like, I wonder what he sees when he's pulling his workers and proxying stuff all the game. And Maru's like, oh no, we're just dancing through beautiful green meadows filled with blooming lilacs and colorful, wonderful skies. And yeah, no, it's just all awful everything for his opponent, as Solar is now and just, you know, even if you recover decently, your whole game plan is still kind of thrown off by that, right? You have to adjust everything to account for the new game state that you've been thrust into.
Absolutely, and it just means the timings are a little different, easier to forget a small detail here or there. going to be a Hellion drop to follow things up for Maru. Going to go in towards the main base. The Overlords are out there, but they're not particularly well positioned, so I don't think he's going to get super early warning of this drop. As I say that, I think there's an Overlord that'll plug the hole in his vision. Ling speed should finish just in time as well.
Yeah, so that'll at least give a little bit of the map control back there, right? Which sounds nice, but Maru's already coming in for his next attack because that's what he does. The medevac making its way towards that main base. Stim is coming in behind this, though. 3 Marines are being built at a time. So while he's doing all this with the Hellions, trying to create a little bit of pressure, trying to find a bit more damage that he can do, he's being as forward-thinking as he can with that follow-up. If Solar Tunnel Vision's too hard on this, or if he takes any, I really feel like if he takes any level of serious damage from these Hellions, it turns into a nightmare when the Marines show up with Stim.
Yeah, is this? I mean, this is 3 racks before 3rd command center, right?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah,
I don't believe there's a 3rd CC there.
Big 2 base push. That's going to be really. I mean, this is just let's pedal to the metal, right? Do the proxy barracks, follow up with a very flexible pressure in the Hellion drop, keep poking around, and then bam, a big 2 base Marine tank timing is going to come out. I mean, I expect Maru to have a 3rd command center behind it, but this is very far on the extreme end of regression for this matchup.
Yes.
This is something you'd see more against a Protoss player. Against Zerg, because their economy can explode so fast, this is basically something you're looking for a kill move. And Solar, I don't think he has any idea this is coming right now.
And the potential to catch him off guard there is absolutely massive, and I love that you bring that up because I was going to say there was also only 1 engineering bay. There are no Terran versus Zerg builds that are 1 eBay, other than very, very heavy type pushes. But almost every single strategy that you see in this matchup is like, oh yeah, now you get your engineering base. This is the time when you move into your upgrades. But trying to hit that +1 with just a bunch of Stim Marines, he's going to be able to do it. And Maru just shoves over a weakened, battered, and bruised Solar for that 2nd game victory here at the Intel Extreme Masters. Pig, he kneecapped him at the start, and he just showed up to put him out of his misery there for that last bit.
Yeah, you know, you can see literally the bright light of the nuclear explosion reflected off Maru's face, in fact, in that webcam shot. Dude, that is... You know, anytime somebody says, why don't you just leave, you show them a game like that where Maru's like, well, once in a while, the nuke lands, man.
Exactly.
So cool, dude.
Well, that highlight is going to be playing forever. We just got to bear witness to one of those moments that you guys are going to have to see in every single one of these. Like, oh, we're going back to or coming back from break, and you show the little highlights. Maru's nuke, that's going to be, I can already see it slotted into every single highlight package for the rest of eternity. Because damn, what a way to cap that game off and then just take it to him for that 2-0 to finish up. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to a quick break. When we return, we'll have the boys at the desk breaking this one down a little bit more for you. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. It didn't really matter what happened in that second game because it was already over in game number 1. A mentally defeated Solar, unfortunately for him in this game, goes up in flames. That was unbelievable. What was that? Joining me at the desk here, let's get things going. Rotterdam and Fear Dragon. Roddy, I cannot even.
I thought you were going to have a little interview with Maru, but no. Obviously, like, it's been a little while, guys, so we calmed down, but we were watching all these games and watching the other games too, but we're like, yeah, why is Maru seeing this game? I was like, hey, Feardragon, you think Maru's dead? And Feardragon is like, well, he made the game against TY pretty close, so I don't want to say he's dead, but he's pretty dead. I was like, yeah, he's very dead. And then we're sitting here just kind of relaxed. We're like, oh my god, like, we're all screaming. Yeah, it's unreal. That's one of the biggest nuke moments I have seen in the history of StarCraft 2.
Yeah, I mean, tournament-wise, I'm trying to think of another bigger moment when it comes to nukes going off, especially given the grand scale of the tournament, the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice, for Christ's sake, Fear Dragon. So this was just fantastic.
Yeah, it was actually insane. And remember that Solar has the honor now of going through that mental, like, just absolute pain and suffering.
Yeah.
And now he has to play 2 more series to advance out of his group. He still has to think about, oh no, I still have my tournament life on the line now. Like, oh, what a horrible feeling.
All right, well, Rotty, I am getting word that we need to come to you. So what have you got for me?
Yes, they tried to take this away from me, James, but this is really cool. I mean, the nuke was epic. Nothing is going to beat the nuke, okay? But this is really sick too. So let's go ahead and hop into the laptop whenever we can. I don't want to come forward too soon, otherwise you see my bald head. But guys, Clement, he started off guns blazing against Showtime. Game 1, Clem TY, fantastic stuff, guys. Oxide, go to Hearthstone stream, watch the VOD. It was sick. But now I want to show you guys this one. Game 2, Pillars of Gold. Let's take a look at this. Pretty even game, right? It's like, oh, it doesn't look too bad for TY. He's got +1. Even bigger is that with one of the drops, TY actually killed Stimpack. So if we take a look at the upgrades, we can see that TY has Stim and +1. Clem does not. Well, it looks pretty bad for Clem, doesn't it, Roddick? Yes, it does, guys. I just want to show you what happens here. TY knows that this army is here, but he's like, I don't really want to fight it. Raven's pretty scary. So you know what? I'm just going to take it safe. Where the hell is this orbital going? So what happened, I watched this 3 times, is that TY just lifted his orbital, but he never moved it. MVP Cyclone of the Century is on the top side, so it shoots at the orbital and it pushes the orbital to the bottom. All of a sudden, Clem gets a kill and is like, okay, that looks promising. TY's like, damn it, need to do something back. Pretty good response at home from Clement. Little skirmish. I don't want to take too much time, but you guys get the gist of it. Like, does damage, sure. Does quite a bit of damage, but now Clem still has this army. TY's got the upgrade, should have 1 more base. And he does have 17 workers more, but down in orbital is never nice, and being contained is never nice. Little skirmish, little dance, and eventually TY's like, alright, I'm just gonna send it! Well, it didn't work out. Loses all the SCVs and ends up losing a game where he was actually in a really good spot, had Stim advantage, had +1 advantage. But Clem gets the 2-0 over TY. The young Frenchman, 3-0 in series, 6-0 in Maps, Calaris, or Maps, I should say. Amazing stuff by Clem.
Yeah, definitely. Big hopes here for Clem coming through Group A so far. Thank you very much, Roddy. Moving over to Fear Dragon, you had Showtime versus Beyond.
Yeah, that series actually finished up a while ago, but there was, you know, some really good play there from Beyond. It ended up being a 2-0 for Beyond, but I just want to actually go into one of the games, game number 1, where it kind of opened up a little bit aggressive. Beyond had like a little bit of a lead, but there was like one of these moments where, of course, it's just like Beyond is so good at just seizing these moments. So you see over here, Beyond, he's actually already at this point killed 2 of the observers earlier on. So Showtime actually just doesn't have a lot of vision. And he's been trying to go for these Colossus and everything. You can see he has a little bit of his army over here as well. But the problem is he just has no vision. Like, this is the first moment he sees Beyond's army coming forward.
Yeah.
And Beyond just seizes that moment so quickly. He kind of moves in over here. This army gets forced back up the ramp. Beyond has 0 hesitation. He literally just stims up the ramp, goes up here, and then he defends Showtime's main base against Showtime and just absolutely demolishes him here. You can see, like, the beginning of the fight, it's totally dead even in supplies. Now it's like gradually just goes 40 supply up. He ends up losing a few more units here at the end and gets cleaned up, but like This is honestly just kind of the way that it felt like the series was going. Beyond just kept getting these little victories over here where he just have a moment where he pounced, and Showtime just kind of got a little bit trounced at the end.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. That brings Beyond now to a position where he is in potential striking distance of that top 3, and that then now means our next match is going to be Beyond versus Solar here on the main stream, and it is truly win or be killed here when it comes to this matchup. If you do not win this one, it's very likely you're going to be crashing out of this group stage. So, gentlemen, we're going to go to a short break, and then when we return, we have that match on the cards. Don't go anywhere. More Intel Extreme Masters Katowice after this.